Behind the Brand features the people who are making things happen. Get the insight to grow your biz from experts who've done it. Get behind the brand.
Hi, I'm Brian Elliott. Welcome to another edition of Behind the Brand. Today I'm here with Drew Baldwin and Josh Cohen, co-founders of Tubefilter and creators of the Streamies. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
So for those who don't know what Tubefilter is, Josh, what is Tubefilter?
Tubefilter is an online publication that covers the online entertainment space. So the same way publications that cover traditional film and television, we're in the same neighborhood, but we cover exclusively online video programming. So that's everything from The Basement Born to all of the productions coming out of the digital divisions of the major motion picture studios and television networks and kind of everything between.
All right. So I usually ask my guests, how did you get this job? Drew, let me ask you first.
We started Tubefilter in 2008. We teamed up with Josh and his company, created the Streamy Awards to sort of recognize excellence in online video. And we modeled it after some traditional award shows, but of course it was updated to reflect, the online video space. And from that, Josh and I became partners in Tubefilter and sort of marched forward ever since.
So you're a West Coast guy, you're an East Coast guy.
Yeah.
How'd you guys meet?
There was Tubefilter out on the West Coast in New York. I was one of the co-founders of a similar publication that was covering the online video space, and then we decided to put together this award show, and we thought with our powers combined, we could make it way bigger than any of us could make it individually. So we went and we put together the Streamy Awards, and then from there we joined forces, and like Drew said, I've been marching forward ever since. But how I got started in the online video space, I was disgruntled in the traditional entertainment space. So I feel like I share somewhat of the same trajectory with lots of people in this industry, in that I had a job at A&E Television Networks and just got fed up eventually with the umpteen levels of bureaucracy you needed to go through to get anything made. And then we were looking at the online video space and saying, it was just around the time Steve Jobs had introduced the first video iPhone. And on the video iPhone, he had an episode of Tiki Bar TV, which is a great old school online video show. We were watching it and we were like, wow, this is actually good. Mm-hmm. What else is out there? How are people going to find this? There was lots of questioning about how are people actually going to discover all this online video content and programming. These online video search engines worked really well if you knew exactly what you wanted to find. So if you were searching for videos of the war in Iraq or snowboarding, you could type that in and it made sense. You would get those results and that's easy. But there was no way to search for entertainment. Like if you don't know this program Lost exists, there's no way to search for it in a search engine. So how do you find out about it? You find out about it through marketing and advertising, through your social circles, or through critics. And we decided that we wanted to be kind of that critic and start covering the online video space with an analytical voice.
Let's talk a little bit more about that space because, collaboration's one of the ingredients in the recipe, right, to success. A lot of people are collaborating. If you look at, some of these successful YouTubers, for example, it's all about kind of cross-pollination. And let's talk about how the space has emerged and what's maybe happening right now and maybe what's predictions for the future. Any thoughts?
One of the things that was really, really fortunate for the first Streamy Awards was it happened right after the Writers Guild strike. So during that time, Hollywood was shut down. And so actors and talent and writers needed to do something creative. Yeah. And they started producing original series online. And so that was great for us because in the first Streamy Awards, there was such a great amount of talent involved in online video. So Joss Whedon put together a musical with Neil Patrick Harris and Felicia Day. Yeah. They sort of swept the Streamy Awards in the comedy category. And what was great is they were all available and showed up. I mean, this was something that was an idea that we came up with, and then 4 months later, Neil Patrick Harris was on stage accepting a Streamy Awards next to Felicia Day, who comes from a completely different side of the entertainment business, and it's that marriage between traditional entertainment and online sort of grassroots video that makes this such an interesting thing, and that's what occurs in the space of online video and social media, which is it's a playground for creativity where people can feel safe and unfettered and sort of outside of the red tape and bureaucracy. Yeah. They can just get to the raw creation. And the flip side is that there's a lot out there, like Josh was saying earlier. There's separating the wheat from the chaff is a challenge.
There's a growing amount of original content being produced, right? A lot of people explain it kind of as the Wild West. It's still very much uncharted, ungoverned, and it's this great opportunity to sort of pioneer new projects, no?
Exactly. I mean, there's so much room for innovation still, just with all the tools of communication that are available, and the natural interactivity of the internet just requires a different type of storytelling.
For those who maybe are not tapped into that yet, kind of explain what's the difference then? You're saying it's going to be customized for that platform. What does that mean? What does that look like?
In terms of online original programming, it differs from traditional entertainment in a lot of ways. One of which is that it could not differ at all. It could be the same type of programs that you see on television could be online. But the most creative and I think more or less the most successful online video programs we've seen have been ones that use the internet's innate capabilities to really galvanize and activate their audiences.
Right.
So kind of the inherent interactive technologies that exist all throughout the web and the social media technologies, really incorporating that in to become a vital part of their programming. That's where the internet drastically differs.
People watch the show, they're entrepreneurs, they're business owners, they're content creators, and they want to know what's the secret sauce. We've talked about collaboration as possible one ingredient to that. What are some of the other insights you might be able to share just from observing what other people are doing or being in the space?
Well, one of the things that I think is really important if you're creating original programming online is that you do not have the power of the network's marketing. The way that you do that is, through social media, you're networking and you're pushing the word out through word of mouth. The great news about that is authentic, that type of marketing. So it's not just like the lineup on a network. It's something that's sort of referred to you by a friend, or it's a trend that is consuming everyone's attention. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of channels now, and so for what we do at Tubefilter is, we try to provide a little bit of that curatorial focus on, what is worth spending your time on, because you only have a limited amount of time.
Well, that was my comment. It's almost like now has never been a better time to create a show, and at the same time, never been harder in my mind.
Right. Everyone gets a soapbox, but now there's 100,000 soapboxes.
Right.
So then the net effect is just noise, right? And so you have to cut through the noise.
Yeah. So how do you do that?
As a viewer, you have to make decisions.
Yeah.
But then also as a show runner and promoter, you need to be able to get in front of the right people.
I feel like we're headed into phase 2, possibly phase 3 of that space, where all the successful people, whether it's iJustine or DeFranco or Freddie Wong, it was accidental or experimental at first, and they just developed this, following because people loved what they're doing. It was not deliberate, right? But now it's becoming more and more deliberate.
Right. So
it's changing and evolving. I think it's getting more difficult to earn attention and trust and audience and engagement when we're being pulled in so many different directions. Watch this, watch that.
Well, it's interesting that you said we're in the next phase, because there are studios emerging now. There's an entirely new Hollywood that's emerging, that's all online studios that are rolling up the talent and helping sort of feature those powerhouse properties that they can really hang their network on, and then the rise of the online video star. I mean, these people are so connected. iJustine, Phil DeFranco, Shane Dawson, huge.
Yeah.
In the way that they can connect directly with fans, and brands can't make sense of it, and no one can make sense of it, because, like you said, it's still very, very new. But one thing is undeniable, is that it's powerful and it's there.
Well, I think it's a really good point that you mentioned, kind of this consolidation, or agencies or studios kind of scooping up top talent. But it's interesting to me that there's only a handful of those, like the super tubers, right? I mean, like the super engaged, and there's just so few, and then everyone below them is such this chasm between the amount of subscribers or the views they have in their videos. There's just this huge gap. So to me, it says that there's plenty of room for more, like to fill up that middle space, or more to move from the bottom, I guess, on up the rungs of the ladder to the top. But it's interesting.
Well, it's interesting because the reason I think why the same names keep coming up again and again is the nature of the platform, not just YouTube but internet in general, is it's very trend focused. And so what I think is there's an opportunity here with the Streaming Awards is to allow some of the undiscovered but very, very powerfully talented individuals to get some exposure, shake things up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because what we want to do is take, we've partnered with Dick Clark Productions, who's had a 40-year plus history of discovering talent and putting them on the mainstream. And so we partnered with Dick Clark because not only are they the top award show producer in the business, they really understand how to promote individuals who might not have a voice otherwise.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about that sort of that section of really good shows that just can't break through the noise and cut through the noise, I mean, that is what the Streaming Awards is designed for. And not just with the awards that we give out, but the entire process from when you first submit to become a Streamy nominee, all the way through the tools that we're giving creators and the platform to promote themselves, comfortably promote themselves without being sort of self-promotional, and really engage their loyal fans, and also let others learn about who they are, because you can't like a show you've never heard of.
Drew talked about this in the Streaming Awards before, but Dick Clark has very extensive relationships and exposure in the traditional entertainment space.
Yeah.
And we've been writing about the online video space on Tubefilter since 2007, 2008. So the Streaming Awards is really about the marriage of those two different entertainment sectors.
I think it's an important signal. I think it's, the lines are blurring between screens in general, right? Whether we watch content on our laptop, on our tablet, on a big screen, whatever. The traditional world and non-traditional world are coming together.
Hollywood is Hollywood. Celebrity status is so important, and it's wildly appealing. Nevertheless, you'll see celebrities wanting to work in the online space because it's just so much fun. It's a way that you can really retain and own something. And so what's really interesting about this is that online video producers, they're entrepreneurs. I mean, that is what they are. They're creating a business.
Yeah.
Some of the online platforms have helped facilitate the monetization of that, but there's also that sort of direct sale aspect, like sell your own tickets, sell your own swag, even put up a paywall and sell your programming.
Yep.
But the way that you conceive of, produce, and then market and run a show online is very much like being a startup. Yeah. It's entrepreneur's medium, and that excitement is so great because also you can start from nothing and just be huge, right?
Yeah.
That's actually a great story, and it's very inspiring.
So Josh, you think that this opportunity now to break through the noise is really pushing people to focus on better content?
Yes, for sure. I think the content, since we first started looking at the online video space, again, like 5-6 years ago, the content's just become phenomenally better. More people are getting into the online video space. More talented people are realizing that, hey, this is a legitimate medium that I can make, like we've talked about, like I can make my own IP and own my own programming and make my own success from. And the quality of the tools of production that have become low cost for consumers has greatly increased as well. So the tools people are using to get up their online video is far better than it was 5-6 years ago too.
Yeah.
But definitely there used to be, I think, to get some recognition in the online video space, there's always kind of a minimum threshold you need to step over, and that threshold has continually risen over the past years.
There's also just been an extraordinary amount of new investment in online video production, in platforms, and everywhere in between.
It's a great point. So YouTube has put $500 million, right, into content creation with their whole premium YouTube channel launch. There's Hulu.
Hulu's making huge investments.
There's Netflix.
Netflix is now getting into original programming, Arrested Development and House of Cards.
Yeah.
It's all blending, and like the technology also is facilitating that, right? So like a TV now is it's not a pair of rabbit ears anymore, right? You can watch online video, cable, or over airwaves. It really doesn't matter. That's sort of sorted out in the back end. You just pick what you want to watch.
Right.
Again, though, the problem is there's so much now
Yeah.
that it's like, how do I deal with this? How do I program?
Can we talk about who's watching? Because I still feel like we're, gosh, it's hard to predict, 2 to 5 years, maybe more, away from the mass. I mean, everyone's still pretty much watching TV, right? You can say, I get my news online, and I don't watch TV much anymore. I'm either doing some sort of DVR, or I'm doing a Hulu, Netflix, or whatever the flavor of the week is. But the YouTube audience is still, 12 to 20 maybe? That's pushing it, right?
I think that's the majority of it. And if you think about it, it makes sense, because these are the people that grew up. It was innate for them in their entertainment experience for them to go turn on an iPad or turn on their computer.
Yeah.
It was as easy as them to do that as it was to turn on their television. So it makes sense that would be the demo that is mostly watching this. The average age of a College Humor viewer is 29 or 30 years old. Why is that? It's because College Humor started 10 to 12 years ago, when these people were 18 years old in
so
college,
seeing it
and the audience has grown up with them.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be the same thing that happens in the online video space, where every year the average age of the audience is going to increase a year or two.
So is it, in your opinion, a better time to start later, or is it time to start now and start seeding your audience so that when they'll grow out of your programming, or maybe grow into your program? What would be your advice to people who are thinking about starting a show today? It's a significant amount of investment, right? Time and money and effort and all that stuff. Is now the best time, or is it later?
Well, I mean, definitely there was a first mover advantage, but it's getting very saturated. So what you'll see is big brands, big studios, big money is going to come in and bankroll some pretty large tentpole productions. And we've seen a lot of these productions from both the traditional studios and these new Hollywood studios that are emerging. There's some pretty tough competition out there, and so as someone who's new, breaking through that noise is getting harder and harder and harder every single second that goes by.
Yeah.
So, however, with something like the Streaming Awards, if it's really good what you're doing, this is a warp portal.
Yeah, it's a way to get discovered.
Right, you can go right to the mainstream, and then it's really just up to you to the quality to just to stand on it, right? Because it's about putting the right thing in front of people, right? So if it's good and then you are put in front of the right people, then there's no reason why you shouldn't be a success story. And we would love to see that type of overnight success, where someone who has very little traction on YouTube just because they couldn't catch fire, they submit, it's incredible, and then they get launched in the mainstream and it's game over. That's something that's a huge goal for us. I would love to see happen like that. Beyond just recognizing just all the amazing stuff, but really that sort of enabling that type of as a launch pad is something that is what makes the streaming so exciting for us.
It's not exclusive, right? We don't need to include or exclude people. It's the internet, and it's going to be just like turning on a TV. Everyone can play, and I think what I like that I see happening is this respect level, where brands are recognizing people with a big audience. They're bringing them in and helping them to reach a new audience that they couldn't get to, or they're bringing their programming to a different audience, whether that's 12 to 20-year-olds on the internet, and starting to play in different spaces. I think that's an important step as well.
Yeah, I mean, and the studios are they're hiring the right people. I mean, so you get someone like Anthony Zuiker, who created the CSI franchise, who does not need to do anything more in his life. He has a nice headstone set up for him, right? But he is doing so much work in the online space. Before even YouTube was in play, he was self-publishing online video, and then he did a show. He teamed up with Tony Valenzuela, who was a past Streamies nominee for Black Box TV, and now he's got a show that's being debuted on Yahoo called Cybergeddon. Incredible. You have someone like Larry King, who, I don't know how many decades he's worked in the business.
Yeah, reinventing himself.
Now he wants to get online and like, we want to understand what are they thinking, because I mean, they don't have to use rhetoric, right? They're established people.
Well, someone probably just told Larry that you need to be online, so he's online.
Yeah, I think it's more than that. I mean, I really think that these institutions basically are seeing this as an opportunity, and it's also really fun.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Howard Stern going to satellite radio or other, people building out their own audiences, it's the same thing. It's this opportunity to build out your own space and build your own audience and do what you want to do without limitations. Cool.
Right, totally.
All right, we've been spending a little bit of time with Josh and Drew, co-founders of Tubefilter and creators of the Streamies. Guys, thanks so much for coming by the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.